Hey guys, Dr. John with Voyage Clinics podcast. This is one of my favorite topics. Our mission is really to bring happiness to our communities through education. I'm a family physician and I enjoy taking care of people. And I also have a whole bunch of other hobbies. And so today we're going to talk about one of my fun hobbies, mushroom foraging. So yeah, people think I'm a funny guy, but I really enjoy going up into nature, and just the grounding that happens in nature is really good for me. I enjoy the serenity up there. I enjoy the peace, the calm. I enjoy the smells and the sounds of nature. So for me, there's a little bit of like mental clarity and therapy that happens as I'm up there. But I wanted to talk a little about mushroom foraging. It's kind of a nerdy hobby, but it's really fun. And so people who are like bird watchers, they're kind of nerds, and they nerd out about the species of bird and the sounds that they make and where they're located in their habitat and all those things. Similarly, mushroom foragers are trying to figure out all the things about mushrooms. And so mushrooms have seasons, mushrooms have different species, and mushrooms have different geographical locations that they will grow in. And they also have like symbiotic relationships to certain kinds of trees. So there's quite a bit to know about mushrooms as you're out there adventuring. One of the easiest ways to mushroom forage is just to hike a lot. And so go on a trail and go for a hike. And if you see a mushroom, then sweet. And so that's just super easy. Mushroom identifying is really, really important. I would say really, really, really important. And so there are mushrooms in our mountains that will kill you, that will put you in the ground. And so you got to know what you're doing, or go with somebody who knows what they're doing, or both. And so there's a couple good books that I'll recommend. David Aurora is one of the better authors of mushroom foraging books, in my opinion. And one of his field guide books, it's a great starter book. It's called All the Rain Promises and More. It's got a creepy guy with like a brass horn on the front. It is creepy, but the book is actually really good. And it'll show you like tips and tricks for identifying mushrooms. And then it'll also tell you just different kinds of mushrooms, and very common ones that you'll find out in our mountains. There's also like mushrooms of the Rocky Mountains, which is pretty good. The reason I like David Aurora is that he's almost pragmatic about his comments. And I like that he's high utility. It's really easy to read. He includes some sweet recipes and things like that. And I like that he comments on the edibility of mushrooms. Some authors refuse to comment on that, liability purposes or whatever. But yeah, I like his stuff. So get up into our mountains. There's lots and lots to find. I'm going to talk about a couple species that are common in certain times of the year. So just to get you going on that. In the springtime, there's several mushrooms that only come out in the spring. So there's like the late winter mushrooms, the early spring mushrooms, I'll call them those. They're in our mountains in Utah. And that would be the Flammulina velupitis, and who knows, right? I speak with a Spanish accent, but it's Latin, so people pronounce things lots of different ways, and even in medical school and medicine, like they pronounce things funny. But this is called the winter mushroom. It's very, very common. You'll find it at the base of trees and things, and in the winter it'll often be right at the snowmelt line. Very, very common. It is. I'm going to refrain from commenting on edibility. I'll let you guys look that up. And but it's a cool mushroom. Gyromitra montana is another one. It used to be the Gyromitra gigas, but they've changed its name. Those are in our mountains. They're beautiful. They're kind of brown, brainy looking. It does have a lookalike, the Gyromitra esculenta, which you want to differentiate that from. Esculenta has a skinny stalk, and the the Gyromitra montana, has a big, thick stalk, almost as thick as the top. And so those ones are pretty yummy, but you got to know which ones they are and cook them really well. Most all mushrooms you do have to cook before you eat them. And most all mushrooms, if you eat too many, just like if you eat too much candy, you eat too much meat, you eat too much chips, whatever, make you sick. So there are certain mushrooms that have like They'll cause some nausea, vomiting, diarrhea if you eat just a little bit. But all mushrooms, if you eat way over too much of them, then you'll get sick. One time I ate way too much puffball. Puffball mushrooms are yummy and they're super edible. And I got sick because I ate just way too much. We found this giant puffball like this big. We marinated it. It was awesome. We made burgers and all kinds of good stuff, but I got way too much mushroom in me. So anyway, so those are great spring mushrooms. The puffballs, mid-spring, late fall. Puffballs are pretty much year round. You can find those all the time. One of the most prolific spring mushrooms is going to be your morels, and so you've got blonde morels and black morels, and there's lots of different in between guys. So they're the Morchella family, and they're super yummy, and you can find them all over Idaho, Oregon, Utah, Washington, really all over the world. You can find these all over. They're beautiful. Look them up, Morchella. They're kind of a really camouflaged mushroom. They look really cool. Unlike any mushroom, they don't have a typical cap and gills or anything like that. They're totally different. They're actually hollow all the way through. They do have a couple lookalikes, so look for those like half-free morels or Verpa bohemia. Those are two common morel lookalikes. Morels are one of the most delectable mushrooms. People are always looking for them. You can find them really along most of our streams in the spring. And so 4,000 feet in the earlier spring, 4,500 feet in the earlier spring. And then as it gets warmer, you're going to find them higher in elevation. And then black morels you're going to find up in the conifers. So blonde morels you're going to find down by the creeks, by the cottonwoods and things like that. Black morels you're going to find those up high in the mountains. Look at the northeast slopes in the spring because those are the slopes that are holding the moisture longer. And so those are going to be good slopes to be scouring for morels and different kinds of mushrooms and stuff. So that's really spring. Into summer, there's like a dry month between like summer, early summer, and then midsummer monsoon. There's like not a lot going on mushroom wise because mushrooms need water, especially in where I'm at. It just gets really dry. And so mushrooms don't like dry. They need moisture. Once the late summer monsoons start hitting, then give it a couple times. So once the mountains get some rain, 2 or 3 good storms, maybe an inch, half an inch, an inch, it puts enough precipitation into those higher elevations. And I'm talking 10,000 feet. It puts enough moisture into those higher elevations to start kind of this humidity thing. And because it's so high in elevation, I mean, it's like 70 degrees up there and 50 degrees at night or so. That's one of the reasons I go up there a lot is because it's nice and cool. But that moisture just holds for a while and it creates a perfect environment for mushrooms. And then they just start popping and it's super fun. So follow the storms in the summertime. And maybe like 10 to 14 days after a good storm series in the mountains, then go check it out. Again, look at northeast slopes, but really anywhere where it's planed out. So if you look at the watershed in a mountain, then it planes out just a little bit. Look along those edges. Look along the edges of conifer forests. Look in the aspen thickets. In the aspen thickets, you'll find a really cool mushroom called the Lexinium insigne or the aspen bullet. It's got a big orange round top. You can't miss it. And then it's got a white stalk, sometimes little flecks of black in it. And it's a beautiful mushroom. It looks beautiful. And so those are very edible, super yummy, super fun. And so you can cut those down and look at them. Make sure they don't have too many bugs in them. Sometimes the beetles like to lay their larvae in there and they squirrel around in there and stuff. And so cut that stuff out if you want to. Most people do, but there are some OG mushroom foragers who just eat all of it. I'm not one of those guys. And so Lexinium insigne or the aspen bullet, that's a fun one to go find. Really easy to find. Any aspen thicket up high after some storms, it's great. Just go hunt that stuff. That's easy. Some of the more sought after summer mushrooms. Oh, we left out oyster mushrooms. Oyster mushrooms you can find in the spring. You can find them in the fall. You can find them in the summer. Oyster mushrooms are really common. There's aspen oysters, which grow off of aspen trees. But most oyster mushrooms will grow off of anything in the poplar family. So So cottonwood, lumber poplar. So in your town, if you have like a park and they cut down the cottonwood trees last year or something, it would be a good thing to go look at those, look at the stumps. There'll be big oyster mushrooms growing off of those. I'm just going to tell you the names and you're going to go Google them because the pictures are really, really essential. And these are things that oysters are something that you can't really, they don't have a scary look-alike that's going to kill you. You can just look at those and I would still identify them with the help of a friend who knows mushrooms pretty well and look them at a book and do all the steps to ID mushrooms before you eat them. So yeah, those are the oyster mushrooms. Other summer mushrooms, we're going to go into porcini. So we have a couple different types of porcini here in Utah. We have these are called the boletes or boletes, boletus edulis, or that's the king bolet. Maybe you've heard of that one. Porcini, super common, really yummy, really big, like a big bread loaf in the wilderness. It's lovely. It's a really fun one. It's really yummy eating. And then we also have the it's kind of a redder bolet, and they're Boletus rubriceki. Yeah. Boletus rubriceki. And so anyway, just it's a red. It looks like the king bolet, but it's instead of a light brown, it's a darker red looking, and they're awesome. And you can eat both of those. They're really yummy in our mountains. Those are going to be probably after the monsoon. So later summer, couple of rainstorms have hit some of the high mountain areas, then just go hoof around up there and you'll find them in the conifers. And so, Douglas fir, blue spruce, those guys, they really like that kind of a forest. They don't like the ponderosa as much. And so if you've got the long pine needle trees, those are the ponderosas. I haven't found them in the ponderosas ever. And so you look for the Douglas fir, blue spruce, and those kinds of trees, and you'll find them up in those kinds of areas. Along with those, I mean, you're going to find like wood ear. Those are super yummy. Witch's jelly I've found up there. A lot of rusula. Some rusula you can eat. They smell like shrimp. There's a shrimp rusula, and you can eat those ones. And then there's some that you can't eat. And so again, it's just there's such an abundance of mushrooms in our mountains. There's a coral mushroom that's really beautiful. There's club mushrooms up in our mountains. There's this mushroom called fairy fingers that I found last year, which is pretty rare, but it's pretty awesome. There's just tons of really beautiful mushrooms. Two of my favorites that are up there are the Sarcodon imbricatus, which is the hawk's wing mushroom. It looks like a hawk's wing, and on the top, it looks like a hawk's wing, and on the underside, it instead of gills, it has like little teeth coming down. So Google image that one; it's a cool one to look at. And then the hedgehog mushroom, which it's related to, because they both have teeth, are also in our mountains. We also in Utah have a mushroom that's related to the lion's mane. The name escapes me right now, but it looks almost like a lion's mane. It grows off of mostly cottonwoods and things, and we'll find them in our canyons. Those are going to be September kind of mushrooms. Later in the season, you start having the leaves start changing, go hoof around in our lower elevation canyons, and you'll find some of those too. Those are really cool. We have a lot of ink cap and things like that. Less delectable mushrooms, but folks can eat those sometimes as long as they don't drink alcohol within 72 hours of eating those. They have a toxin that interacts with the alcohol. I don't know. There's just so much to learn about mushrooms, and I think it's fun. We talked before about neuroplasticity and about changing our brains and being neuroflexible, neuroplastic, right? And I think that's really helpful, and it's fun to learn new things because it creates more flexibility with our brain cells. And so this is just an optional, fun, nerdy hobby for you to develop neuroplasticity. And so hopefully this will help you. And I love it. I think it's therapy being up in nature. On my podcast that I did with Dr. Nyberg, psychiatrist friend of mine, Brian Nyberg, we talked about foraging as a utility to mental health in just the eye tracking. As we're looking side to side, there's a processing that happens in our brains, and And he mentioned that as, we use like an EMDR therapy that has to do with eye tracking and reworking, recalibrating thinking and things like that. And so not only is it fun and you can get lots of yummy food from it, but it's also maybe therapeutic from a mental health standpoint as well. So, I hope this was helpful for you and fun. It's fun for me. I do some forays a few times a year if you're my clients, or even if you're not and you'd like to join me on one of these trips, reach out. Happy to do that. That's really fun for me. And enjoy life's journey. Dr. John with Voyage Clinics podcast.